already doing that bullshit. Stay messing with my shit. All right, all right. Respect to you all. Respect to you all. The time right now is 5:38 a.m. East Coast Standard Time. Thank you all for tuning in. What we are going to do is we are going to have ourselves a simple morning reflection. That's it. Stick around if you like, or catch the replay. And with that being said, I digress. My mic is muted. Let's go ahead and get to the show.
What seems to me to be lacking in our Western religious observances is some sort of social ritual which gives an opportunity for spiritual experience. That is to say, for a transformation of the individual consciousness, so that one way or another, the individual is able to realize his oneness with the eternal energy behind this universe, which some people call God, and others prefer not to name or to conceive. So what I'm proposing instead of the ordinary kind of religious service is, as I said, a contemplative ritual. The idea is not to have everybody shaken up and whooping around, but to bring about a state of profound peace. So therefore I should say something in a preliminary way about meditation, or contemplation, as I prefer to call it. Meditation is the act of allowing one's thoughts to cease, stopping the agitation of thinking. Thinking is talking to yourself. Now, if I talk all the time, I don't hear what anyone else has to say. Consequently, if I talk to myself all the time, I don't have anything to think about except thoughts. There is no interval between thoughts during which I can come into touch with reality, that is to say, the world which thoughts represent, as words represent events, or as money represents wealth. And so if I'm never silent in my head, I'm living in a world of total abstraction, divorced from reality altogether. Reality itself is neither mental nor spiritual, nor any concept that we can have of it. Reality is simply now. Therefore, to meditate, you might think that we attempt to suppress thought. We do not do that. Because you cannot meditate. Let me put that in a more emphatic way. You cannot meditate. You, your ego image, can only chatter. Because when it stops, it isn't there. When you are not thinking, you have no ego, because your ego is a concept. The thinker behind the thoughts, the feeler behind the feelings, and the thinker behind the thoughts is only a thought, an idea of some reference point to which all our experiences happen. And that, of course, cuts us off experience. It makes a great gap or gulf between the knower and the known. And that creates the spirit of alienation to the world from which we suffer. Conflict, hate, domineering spirit arise from that basic division. So when you come to an end of thought, and you don't know how to meditate, you don't know what to do with your mind, nobody can tell you, then thinking comes to an end naturally. You can begin meditation. Or meditation happens. And that is, happening is the watching simply of what is. Of all the information to you conveyed by your exterior and interior senses, and of the thoughts that keep chattering on about it all. You don't try to stop those thoughts. You just let them run as if they were birds twittering outside. And they will eventually get tired of themselves and stop. But don't worry about whether they do or don't. Just simply watch whatever it is that you are feeling, thinking, experiencing, and that's it. Watch it. And don't go out of your way to put any names on it. That's really what meditation is. And you see, you're not expecting any result. You are in meditation in an eternal present. You're not doing it to improve yourself. You found you can't do that. Your ego can't possibly improve you because it's what's in need of improvement. Your ego can't let go of itself because it is a complex called clinging to oneself. That's what it is by definition. So it's just something that evaporates. when it is understood that it is unable to achieve a transformation of consciousness, mystical experience, the vivid sense of union of individual and cosmos. So, one of the easiest ways to enter into the state of meditation is therefore listening to what is, using the sense of sound. When you listen to sound, you listen to it, just the random sounds, that are going on in the room, in the street, as if you were listening to music, without trying to identify its source, name it, or put any label on it at all. Just enjoy whatever sound may be going on. Just listen. Now we can go on from that listening to making sound ourselves and also listening to it. And instead of making sound, we learn the knack of letting it happen through us. So then, we get to what is in India called the use of mantra. Words, sounds chanted, not for their meaning, but for their sound. And thus everything that will occur in the following celebration will not be in the English language. It is not intended to be understood in a discursive and intellectual sense. You are asked only to dig the sound. And I use the word dig advisedly because it means something a little more than appreciate. It means enter into, penetrate, get right to the bottom of. Because when you are listening to sound, and when you're letting sound hum through you, this is one of the most obvious manifestations of the energy of the universe.
While sitting here and listening, right? I'm sitting here and I'm listening to that. And what it is that I picked up, and the commercial broke my concentration. I actually was trying my best in this moment to just not think. And out of all things that I have done in my life, out of all things that I could say I've tried before, that was one of the most difficult. To be able to just be in that moment, it's not something that all of us generally are capable of achieving earlier than others. We all have the capacity to do so, but it's not easy. And why am I speaking about thinking this morning? Because thinking, that is what woke me up. Thinking disturbed my sleep. Why? Because of my thoughts of over-consuming information, over-consuming thoughts of this world, over-consuming ideas. The overconsumption is what then makes the heavy conscience turn into the light sleep, right? And so this is something that I've recognized, that thinking, I speak a lot about being an independent thinker. I speak a lot about thinking for yourself. And you know how they say sometimes you can be your own, your own worst enemy. And this is something that I have noticed that has perpetuated itself throughout my lifetime. My own thoughts have been the reason as to why I actually thought my way into or out of things in life. I actually thought myself out of wonderful circumstances I actually thought myself into wonderful circumstances. I realized the power of that. And so that is why I make sure to keep myself in a peaceful state. Why? Because what I noticed is that my thoughts themselves will overrun what it is that my focus should be on. My focus should be strictly on what it is that I'm accomplishing. My focus should be on the next goal. And then you wound up realizing that sometimes we put a little bit too much on our plate. Sometimes I just have to sit and take a step back, from myself. I do. I just have to take that step back, But we're going to go ahead and get back to this. I wanted to go ahead and give a quick take. I'm going to go ahead and tap in a second. I thank you all for watching. The time right now is 5:50 a.m. East Coast Standard Time. Beautiful Sunday to you all. Let's get back to it.
Can approach an ineffable, that means beyond words, spiritual experience, and not be told and forced into a particular pattern of thinking, of mentation. So you see, for that reason, I've only given the slightest suggestion of how one uses these mantra or the silence for meditation. You all have your own way of doing things like that. Do it your own way. All this is a vehicle, a support for contemplation. Listen. Close your eyes and go entirely into a world of sound. If I should say anything to you during this silence, just listen to the sound of my voice and don't worry about the meaning of the words. Your brain will take care of that by itself. The air which is playing with your ears is also playing with your lungs. If you let your lungs breathe as they wish to, without helping them, watch what they do. When they feel like breathing out, let it go out, but don't assist. When it feels like coming in, let it come in, but don't pull. Are you breathing, or is it breathing you? Remember, there is no special state you are supposed to be in. Simply let yourself be aware of whatever state you are in. Don't name it. Just feel. Now only is important. Now, would you gently allow a sound to arise in your imagination, in the ear of the mind, a sound that is pleasing to you and which you would feel natural humming. And letting your breath sort of fall out easily and naturally. Hum the sound out loud.
That is something I always need for myself. You want to know why? Because my brain, my brain is overpowered as far as energy, consumption of information, the whole nine. And I've noticed how dangerous that's become for me. I've noticed how disturbing it can be at times, not being able to relax your mind. I'm so serious. Like when you just have those moments, you know how it says, like, even in the word, I guess it says, be still. Does that really mean your body? Or does that mean stop your thoughts? I do believe that there is too much of a flow of what is brought in and what is taken out. And there's never that moment of just still. You're just still. You don't you don't worry about anything. You're not excited about anything. You're just still. You're just in that moment, which is a fleeting moment that continuously presents itself. I speak about this because the stresses of life does not always just come from what we see, like the news and, harmful things happening to people. No. The stress also brings about from your own thoughts. Your own thoughts can stress you the F out. Your own thoughts can have you pacing back and forth, walking a hole in the ground. Your own thoughts can have you overthink something that wasn't even that deep. Kind of like when you stare into a puddle too deeply, the only thing that you see is your own reflection. I always, from time to time, I do quick check ins with myself. I just pause. I don't stop. I just pause my tape and then I just reflect. But I reflect in a state of emptiness. This is something I've only been able to achieve a couple of times thus far. Because as I've said, that's not an easy thing to do. After this live, just try. Like, seriously. Now, watch this. Watch. We're talking about something to be in for a period of time. I want you to just try to not think about anything at all. Make your entire brain and your mind and your thoughts white noise. Like the quietest room in the world. Try to see if you can accomplish that for 1 minute. Matter of fact, I'm not going to put that much pressure on you. See if you can handle 30 seconds. Put a timer in front of yourself. Start the timer. And just try not to think about anything at all. And watch how, as soon as you try not to think about anything, every thought in the world wants to rush in. They say an idle mind is the devil's playground. And when you really start to dive deeper into how the process of the mind and meditation works, it all starts to make more sense. Everything starts to click. It all starts to come together. And I'm now that I can tell you right now was something that me personally, I have definitely I'm just gonna say I notice how Let me pull this briefly while I'm speaking to you. I notice how thought process is influenced. And the thing about it is, I personally, I don't know. I just be trying to figure out. I do. I try to figure out how much of my thoughts in particular are actually my thoughts. Now, I really do. I wonder that. How much of my thoughts are my thoughts, and how much of my thoughts are my thinking that comes from outside sources, outside influences. And then I also do the contrast in the connection. How healthy is both? Your own thoughts, how healthy are they? Outside influences, how healthy are they? And this is for you to think about for yourself. Whatever it is that you want to accomplish, do you think enough about it, or do you think too much about it? Is there such thing? That's for you to answer for yourself. So keep a gauge in your life of what it is that you want to accomplish. Keep that gauge set at a meter that's obtainable for you. Why? Because when you reach for what's obtainable for you, you are almost assured to not set yourself short or disappoint yourself. That's the point of that. And every single time you accomplish that, you should be reaching to another goal. Thus, you continue to grow. I want us to make sure we always keep that in mind. Most definitely. So, respect to you all.